All right, gentlemen. Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming on this beautiful Easter weekend. Kent Roberts, great to see you. Hello from Bend. So many of you. It's just been great to kind of get back in the swing of these trainings. I wish we were in person. But on behalf of our board of directors, of which a number are on this call right now, we sure appreciate you being here. John True, great to see you, one of our retired board members, but not retired from the game. Gentlemen, pretty special weekend for Oregon lacrosse. I don't know how many of you follow the collegiate scene, but Oregon's own Jack Savage not only got on the field for the Syracuse, the Qs were down 7-0 in faceoffs, and a game they ultimately, unfortunately, lost, or depending who you're talking to, fortunately lost to Notre Dame, but they were down 7 faceoffs to 0 entering the second quarter, and none other than Oregon's Jack Savage, a true freshman, rolled out on the field, proceeded to win his first ever faceoff, and then go a total of 4 for 9 on faceoffs when they were 0 for 7 prior. And I was able to talk to Jack last night. He was ecstatic. For those of you, why I kind of feel this is pretty important is that young man finished his high school career on a sideline with his head down after being hit by one of his own teammates on the opening faceoff of the state semifinal 2 years ago. And to end your high school career 40 seconds into the state semifinal with a chance to take your team to the state final, pretty precious. So his first game action, and he had not yet appeared in any of the previous 4 games for Syracuse. He comes out and wins his first faceoff and proceeds to win 4 out of 9 total. So pretty fun. And of course, Tucker had one of probably a tougher game for Tuck, but great to see 2 Oregon products out there on the biggest stage on national TV. So pretty cool for Oregon. Kind of gives those of you who are newer to this profession or possibly rookies, just know that the very athletes that you're working with on the field, there are a handful of them that get to go play at the absolute highest level of the sport. And I think we'll all be proud to see Tucker. I don't know what's in the cards for Jack long-term, but Tucker will certainly rise up and be a professional lacrosse player so long as he wants to. That is my dog, Lacey. Apologize for that. James, my dog would have fun with your cat right now, although your cat would probably beat up little Lacey. So good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for jumping on Easter Sunday. We know that it is an important day for a lot of people, and you'll notice we do have a few members off this call due to family commitments and like. This is being recorded. That being said, very fortunate to partner with a number of board members on this call, including Secretary Dean, who is taking attendance. He checks that 3 times, 4 times per meeting, just to make sure we get everybody included and participatory. In addition to that,
hey Tom, who is iPhone? Someone just got their name as iPhone, and I can't quite make out their face. Sitting outside.
Looks
Russ,
like
that's Todd Marshall, probably.
Todd, okay, oh, there you are, Todd. Okay, cool. Thanks.
I'm actually
Sorry, I
going to
didn't
rename
realize.
you, Todd.
I just decided to log on in my phone.
Yeah,
Not a problem. So along with Russell and myself, we have just a really special group that are your board of directors, and I'll just introduce them previously because I like to really recognize that this is a real team effort and having this come together. Locke Chandler serves as our treasurer and really manages our funds appropriately. Also one of our resident doctors, great to have Locke on the call, Dr. John Chessar, retired, but still giving back to the game. Wonderful atmosphere guy. Kyle Birding is on the call. Kyle is pretty exciting. Got to give Kyle quite a call the other day. Kyle will be serving on his first ever Civil War lacrosse game this year. So when you see Kyle next, big congratulations to him. Well-deserved honor. I believe it's only his 4th year of collegiate lacrosse, and to ascend to the Civil War game in your 4th year is pretty incredible, guys. Let's see who else is on the call. I know Neil Reinen. I saw Neil on the call. There he is, waving. Neil's got a new house and doing a lot of work there. Did I miss any other board members? Mike Brooks. Thank you, Mike. Mike represents our group down south, and heck of a commitment. Mike resides all the way down in Roseburg and never misses a beat for team meetings and the like. Really appreciate Mike's dedication and the like. And then, of course, I see Bobby Weir and John True, former board members. Thank you, gentlemen, for your service. And hopefully I didn't miss anyone else. All right. So a couple updates, guys. We are still waiting on a commitment check from the OHSLA for our jackets. We have been assured that that's coming. But as you can imagine, we are going to probably be a little delayed in that shipment, given that we have not received their financial commitment. So rather than having a bunch of upset officials or caught off guard officials, just be aware that if the jackets do not land by opening night, which they most certainly probably will not, we're just going to be in standard black like last year jackets. And then just the moment they land, I'll work with all of our assigners to get those out to you quickly. I do not anticipate a super long delay. That being said, we have requested that check a few times, and unless something happened yesterday, Locke, I did not receive it in my mailbox yesterday. Did you?
Yeah, I got the check and deposited on Friday. I'm actually missing more now from our members than I am from other sources. So
We got enough to make the deposit, though.
we should. I don't know how much that deposit is.
It's about 2,500, which should have been the check we got.
Okay, that would cover it.
Okay, I'm going to green light that tomorrow. Thank you, gentlemen, for many of you paying. If you happen to be one of the very few that have not paid, if you would, please send me a Venmo at this point. There's not really time for a check anymore. Venmo me at Tom-Hoffert, Hoffert. There is only a few remaining in lock. I have the amounts that I've transferred over from Venmo. That cleared on Friday, so I can write you a check against that for the difference, noting who the officials are that are now paid. And that amount was $760.
Okay, I just need to get a tally of who that was. I'll take them off the list. And if you don't want a Venmo, just send me a check. That's another way to do it old school.
I love it. Spicer, is there a list of who is not paid? Because George is going to start pestering you. George, you are officially the board's collection agent. We accept your mission and you are in charge. Mr. Dean will get you that list by tomorrow. And
Actually, I have Locke, give him a list.
Okay,
Yep.
Locker can give him the list. Super, appreciate that, George. And you probably thought you were being funny, and I take you up on that funniness. So you are in charge. Next up, gentlemen, the season is progressing pretty quickly now. I had people start to inquire whether scheduling would begin to happen in short order. In a perfect world, yes. Let me provide you the board update. Only 15 out of 46 teams have fully loaded their schedules. So needless to say, as an assigner, Tom Johnson, Don Huber, and myself, it's pretty challenging to do any assigning yet. So we will make you aware when that occurs, but like most things, we need to do, it's be very flexible heading into the season. Know that scheduling, as I mentioned in our opening meeting, is going to be a little bit of a work in progress with some of the changes due to COVID and the like. And it's just our role to be really prepared to be flexible as best we can. And of course, the board thanks you for that. The other piece I would say from an assigner's role is I know 80% of you check that every morning and probably once at noon, because it's quite honestly just a whole lot of fun to get lacrosse assignments, and you get excited and you can start to map your schedule out. We really encourage you to be checking those a couple times a day. For those that I assign, I just send a text message when I put new assignments out, so everybody knows when they can jump in. Don, I don't know if you'd like to do that. You have 17 more guys than I do, so your text thread would be large. But I think Tom Johnson utilizes email to do that in his communication. So when we do get those assignments rolling, and I'm certainly hoping it's sooner rather than later, we'll make sure to let you know. Jack Schoon, $40. You are a millennial or even younger, so I know you will maximize the Venmo. And let me put that in here right now at Tom-Offert. $40, Jack, is the participation rate. The total jacket cost is coming in just about $62, guys. So very kind of the league to cover about a third of that price, a little over a third of that price for us. And so appreciate that. All right, with that, we've got a great agenda today, and I'm very, very excited. Russell is going to walk us through some training for the next 13 minutes here at 6:30 sharp. We're going to bring in a great friend of Oregon, and I will give him a formal introduction at that point. But those of you who are aware of who Gordon Corsetti is, he is a very special individual, longtime employee with US Lacrosse, and really the man credited with all the video production, all the technology advancements and the like at US Lacrosse. Now, he has since departed US Lacrosse, and you will likely be hearing some information. There's 2 other major departures at US Lacrosse. Our good friend Charlie Obermeyer has also left US Lacrosse. And Steve Stenerson, the CEO, is stepping down at the end of 2021. So it is going to be a time of major transition at US Lacrosse. They embarked on a very heavy and expensive capital campaign to build an incredible home court and home building there in Sparks, Maryland. Having been there and served on that field before, it is an absolutely incredible facility, but it was not without casualties. And unfortunately, when you make a major capital campaign like that, and less than a year and a half later, you go from opening that building with a lot of debt load, you still have the commitments of paying down, and they walked right into COVID. And so it's been challenging for US Lacrosse. I know there's been a lot of members that have lobbied comments at us as, hey, why did we have to pay our membership dues with no season and the like? I'd ask you to remember the larger cause here, and the sport of lacrosse can't simply stop and not have an organization in a year that we don't have a lot of games. So thank you all for hanging in there, paying it forward. If that, that $50 investment is a way that we can continue to have the game alive during a down period. But I'll get off my soapbox there. I'm going to turn it over to Russell for about 10 minutes here. And then when our guest comes in, Russell, I will, if you don't notice, I'll make a little note and we'll move forward on our agenda. So Russell Dean, our secretary, gentlemen.
All right, let's see if I can make this work. Screen 2. All right. Right now I'm showing the title slide for the OLA meeting tonight. Is that what people are seeing? No. All right. Maybe that one. Or is it just me right now?
You're sharing.
It's loading currently.
Okay,
There it is.
Yep, there it is. Perfect.
All right.
It's loaded.
excellent. Thank you. All right. So this is, yeah, okay, I think I can get through this. All right, preseason training today, basically. Let's see, I gotta figure out how to get the rest of this working now. Not that one. There we go. Maybe I can make this will work. All right, hang on a second. Until I really love Zoom. Well, we'll just go to this page here, which is our, one thing I want to talk about real quick before Gordon gets on the next 10 minutes. I don't know if you're seeing effectively my homepage on the OLA website. All right.
Yeah,
good.
it's up, Russ.
Basically, this page on this page, you're able to do one really cool feature called set blocks. I know some of you have used it, especially this season where things are gonna be really crazy with scheduling and such. So when you log on, you come onto this page. You want to set up your blocks, just click on the set blocks. You got to relog in because it timed out on me. All right, page is official and set blocks. And also on this page, you can effectively set all day blocks, part day blocks. You have no games before. Let's say you have to work until 6 o'clock and there's no getting out of work early. So you set blocks like that. Basically, it's pretty easy. You know, you click on the day you want. Let's say Monday the 5th, I can't work a game. So I just click on the 5th, click block all day and apply. And it comes up and it blocks that day. To block multiple days, you can go through and start and then stop on a day. So I got those 2 days. I'm gonna block all day, and if I hit apply, any luck, it should block both days, and it did. So you can do that. Let's say on the 4th, which is today, I don't want a game before 1 o'clock. Block part day, and apply. And it'll come with a little no game before. And if you want to review everything you've blocked down here, they've got you can review what days you've blocked. I've already gone and blocked things out for the 2021 season on given days. So that's really the feature of it. It's going to help our assigners a lot when they go in and have to assign games. Your name won't show up if it's blocked out, and that way they'll be able to keep tabs on that.
I'm not allowing multiple days during the week, Russell.
Okay.
Russ, I was gonna say during this unique year, Huber and I said the guys can't block any days.
We may have to do some Zoom refereeing and have someone other the camera for us. All right, go back to this one. I'm trying to figure out how I get. There we go. There we go. That's the page one. All right. So we talked about blocks. Again, went through that. It's pretty simple. Platts did a really good job on it. He basically used what was done in what do we use to schedule college games with? I've forgotten that already, which is fine. All right. Couple new rules this year, actually from 2020. These are just repeats of those. Illegal stick penalties are now, any illegal stick is a 2-minute non-releasable penalty. It's no longer 1 minute or 3 minutes. A lot of the rationale between dropping the short cross or the pinched head from 3 minutes down to 2 minutes is they thought, 3 minutes non-releasable. Well, that's the same penalty we give a kid who takes another kid's head off with an illegal body check. Illegal cross isn't quite that bad, but so they said, we're gonna make them all 2-minute releasables. So deep pockets, pinched heads, short crosses are all 2-minute penalties. If it's missing the end cap or a hanging string, it's a fix it. go tell the kid to fix the cross. If he doesn't do it and comes back on the cross, it's unsportsmanlike conduct against the kid for doing that. The other rule is that cross can be fixed and it doesn't have to stay at the table. It can be used in the game once it's fixed. So the kid can be, messing with the cross at the table while he's in the penalty box, or his coach can take the cross to the bench and put a new stick on it if it's too short, or open up the head, whatever he has to do on that. Again, as usual, you don't have to demonstrate what's wrong. You don't have to show the coach, hey, look, here's my tape. Look, it comes out to be 9.5 inches. Just tell him, hey, coach, the head's too short, or failed the rollout test, or you got a deep pocket. Give it to the coach. The coach can check it. And if he says, oh, wait, look, the pocket's not that deep. I don't see a deep pocket on it. Doesn't matter. You checked it. You called it illegal. It's illegal. And we go from there. If the coach gives you a bunch of flack about that, give him a conduct foul. And if he gives you more, give him an unsportsmanlike conduct foul. Just let him know, coach, the penalty's been called. We checked it. This is what it is. We check, sticks all the time. We're pretty good at it. Here's what it is. So, but so remember, if it's illegal, it's illegal.
Hey, Russ, quick question.
Yeah.
What if they ask us to check before it comes back in?
Since we're not really doing stick checks this season, we won't be doing that. The other problem is if we check it before it comes back in and it's illegal, well, there's another penalty.
Yeah, even if they ask themselves, that's what I was
Yeah.
wondering. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, state, don't trouble, as
Yeah.
Greg would say.
Mhm.
If they want it checked, say, no, you don't. Because as Russell notes, that is an in-game stick, and you then have to reapply the same rules if it's not corrected properly.
Mhm.
So use your COVID-19 protocol this year and say, we are not doing stick checks unless it is coach requested. And that's going to defer you right out of the mucky water right there. And if it's a kid who is maybe not grasping the rule set completely, walk over with the young man to his coach and go, hey, coach, as a reminder, you don't want this stick checked again, correct? And it's going to really give you some traction.
Sounds good. Thanks, Hoff.
Where are we? All right, 4 minutes for the good stuff. All right, next on the thing is throwing across. Again, this has always kind of been the penalty. I think they just clarified it for 2020, 2021. It can be either unsportsmanlike or a technical foul. If you throw the cross at the ball, let's say the ball is rolling towards the goal and the goalie's out of the goal and wants to stop the ball from rolling in, he throws his cross at it. Or if a player throws a lob pass and a player throws a stick up in the air to block the pass. Or if he throws another player, he's mad at his opponent and chucks a stick at his opponent. Or he's mad at you and throws a stick at you. Okay. All those are personal fouls, non-releasable. The rule book had an error in it, which they clarified in a memo last year. But it's 1, 2, or 3 minute non-releasable depending on what it is. It's a technical foul. If they throw it other than the ball, player, game personnel, he's mad and he throws a stick on the ground. Okay. The coach and the player are exchanging sticks on the sideline. The coach tosses the stick to the player. He's walking off the field and throws a stick off the field. Not anybody in general, just because he's mad, or he's at the bench and throws a stick down. All those could be technical fouls if you see them. I would suggest some of these you don't see. If the kid's on the bench all upset, let him be upset on the bench. His team will take care of him. The other one that's not really throwing the stick, and this is where your judgment comes in. Let's say 2 players are chasing a ball at the sideline and one guy dives and his stick flies out of his hand. Doesn't look like he's throwing it, just flies out of his hand. He just dropped a stick. It's not a thrown stick. So make sure we use our judgment on that. But more important thing is if he's mad at another person and throws a stick at another person, or he's trying to prevent the ball from doing something, rolling out of bounds, rolling in the goal on a pass, those are the unsportsmanlike conduct fouls. All right. Looks like we're about 2 minutes for Gordon. Throwing one more up here.
Just
Oh,
a quick question.
Yeah, well, that's right. Got a
Uh,
question?
So on a stick exchange from a long stick to a short midi, they can't throw the cross to the coach and the coach throws the new cross to the player on the field, correct? That would be the
Correct.
technical.
Yes. Now the coach can walk into the substitution penalty box and
Oh, hand it
walk
to
over.
him, yeah.
Yeah,
But
he
they
can be in
can't
that area and
toss
hand
it
the stick
anymore.
off. Yeah, the player doesn't have to come off the field to his bench to exchange the stick. But it has to be a hand-to-hand exchange or two players exchanging the stick on the field as long as the ball is not in the stick. They can do that also. And what they're trying to do here is they're just trying to say, hey, if the player's really doing something with a stick to change the game, let's go ahead and penalize him unsportsmanlike on that. All right. Hey, Tom, we're with Gordon.
Gordon's ready to go. If you want to pull us
Oh.
off screen sharing, I'll
Yep.
team up.
Stop share there. It's all you now, Tom.
All right, I'm gonna remove you from the spotlight and let's bring our good friend in on this. Once I can find him here.
Appreciate it.
There he is. All right. All right, gentlemen. It's a real pleasure to bring this gentleman to the table today, guys. First of all, for those, I know a lot of you know Gordon very well. Gordon, it comes to us from Atlanta, Georgia. Gordon is an incredible friend to the lacrosse community, both men's and women's. And he'd never say it himself, but all the advancement in video work, in analytics, in technologies that US Lacrosse went through over the last 4 years prior to his departure, full credit to Gordon on that. And his video series with the Georgia Lacrosse Association, as well as his work with US Lacrosse, was just exemplary. And Gordon's got a pretty incredible story. I sent you a link earlier today that you could do a little bit of reading on Gordon, who he is as a gentleman. But this is truly one of the good guys for the game of lacrosse. Gordon serves with a servant's heart. He loves the young people out there, loves to grow the game, and does so with an incredible level of professionalism and communication style within his crews, with the players and the coaches. Gordon has moved on from US Lacrosse and is very active in a new world that are taking new skills that he's learned and applying. And we're very fortunate that Gordon stays very involved with the game still. And for Oregon to bring Gordon on this call today is very special. Gordon is a national speaker and an international speaker. And he talks about a great topic today that he's going to share with you called Zen and the Art of Officiating. I would ask that you give Gordon the next hour of your time. We're very fortunate that we're recording this, and know that Gordon's appearance today is an anonymous gift from one of our members who has paid for Gordon to be on this call. And I got to tell you, it's 9:32 where Gordon's residing right now, and we're all very fortunate to have him here. Gordon, I'm going to make you a co-host so you can take over all audio controls and the like. Gentlemen, please help me welcome our dear friend, Gordon Corsetti.
Well, thank you so much for that rousing introduction. Deeply appreciative of that, Tom, and to all the guys that I know, Nick and Bob, and I'm going to see a lot of other, I'm sure, names that are familiar to me popping up in chat while I get this going. Can you hear me okay here, Tom?
Perfectly, Gordon. You're sounding great, man.
Awesome. So I'm just going to get my kind of the way I like things squared away here. All right. So we got that. And woo. All right. So you all are familiar with the Zoom stuff. So if you got questions throughout this talk, feel free to type those in. If you got specific questions as we go, or just things that pop into your head that might be lacrosse specific related, feel free to type those in. I've got a Q&A section at the end where we kind of put a bow on everything. But I'm very, very excited to be speaking to the Oregon Lacrosse Official Association membership. This is something, as Tom alluded to, I love doing, and I nerd out on this kind of stuff. And I'm just excited to be able to share what was the original version of this presentation was specific to trainers. And this was at the first West Coast conference that we did. And I have since modified it to be specific more to general official members and to be changing a little bit about the way we think of the game. How we approach officiating individually and then over the course of the entire season as well. So I got a little bit of feedback somewhere. Let's see here. Make sure we're good now.
Hey guys, just a reminder, we just had somebody come on. Please mute yourself or we're going to get a lot of feedback.
The perils of our Zoom world. So this talk is called Zen and the Art of Officiating. And the concept around this talk is dealing with the stress response and negative self-talk that impacts us both on the field and off the field. So there's going to be a lot of crossover in terms of our semi-professional lives as officials through the techniques and some of the information I'm going to be giving you that crosses onto our personal lives and our work lives, which I hope drastically impacts for the better all of your future interactions with bosses, with partners, with spouses, with kids, with whomever. It's been my experience that since implementing a lot of these mindsets and ways to de-escalate situations has helped me off the field as well. So we're going to roll into this talk, the kind of three main sections I'll be talking about in a little bit, but I like to start with a little fun. And this is a compilation of referee commercials, and I'll be talking about why in a second here, but this is just kind of a fun way for us to kind of bond and go through some stuff. So I'm going to make sure my audio, I'm going to switch it to a little bit here so you all can hear these. So there's about 4 of these.
Hey, Doug, how'd that discount double check work out for you? Oh, that was great. Good. I wish I had double checked before discussing that play earlier. Did anybody catch that play? No. Okay, we're going to act like we're debating about it. You two do the bouncy football thing. You rub your head like it's a real tough call. Don't that looks like you're having a migraine. I'm going to break the huddle confidently, and we're going to call it incomplete. Mike's on! 70,000 people were there. 20 million more watching at home. Got it! Save big with State Farm. I'm a ref being chased out of town after the worst game of my career. If you get one down and the whole stadium turns on you. And if you have cut rate insurance, it may not pay for all this. So get Allstate. You can save money and be better protected from mayhem. This referee's a jackass. No, I believe that's a zebra. A very close call. Could have gone either way. It was right on the line. Now, Ferguson's not too happy with it, I can tell you that much. He's beating him like a rented mule. And the ref's just tuning him out. Boy, where do you train to take a beating like that? He said, Park's gonna get painted, and I love it. It's been 3 weeks. 3 weeks. I don't think I could have married Don Hoffman. And would it hurt for you to say that you love me once in a while?
So I hope you all enjoyed that little trip down some past Super Bowl commercials. I have a whole collection of those saved to my computer for when I have a bad game. I can just enjoy that. But the purpose behind that, I've in past talks, I do a history of officiating that kind of goes back through even centuries and a few thousand years back of officiating. And the reason I do these history lessons and these showcase of what officials are represented as in popular culture and in $1 million commercials in front of hundreds of millions of people is that it's always been bad to be a referee in every sport, at every time. It has always been awful. And the redeeming fact behind that is that we in this fraternity, sorority, whatever you want to call it, this group of officials, whether it's just lacrosse or sports in general, is we get to take care of ourselves within that group, right? Nobody else knows how hard it is. Everybody gives us grief. We're the only ones that really know what it's like to be out there, to have that level of authority, but also that pressure to get the call right, to be in the right position, to deal with the insanity of a 8U game as well as a potential D3, D2, D1 game, right? So these things we're always under the microscope, and it always has been, and it's always been rough for sports officials, for referees. And I like to lead that into this talk of like, if we can accept that fact, we can do some more interesting things in terms of how we approach the game on an individual level and on an association level. So this talk goes into three main spots. We're going to do some evolutionary psychology and some biology, some physiology with the stress response, what this actually is. So a little bit of nerdy science information that I enjoy. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. So that first part, if you want to kind of check out, feel free to. The meat of this talk is going to be in the center part. There is going to be the mental agility, the verbal judo techniques that we speak about, of ways lacrosse wise that we can actually maneuver around some common obstacles. And then we wrap up with our verbal judo in terms of de-escalation and some useful things. Tom was saying this is a season. I don't know how far you all got into your season last year. I got maybe 12 games. So okay, big goose egg. All right. So you got y'all, and I feel for you on that front, to have to totally 86 last season and now get into this and be worried about shaking off the rust and how everyone's going to behave and act and what are we going to screw up today? We don't know yet, but we'll find out. That's a lot of weird pressure to do. So this is going to be some effective ways to de-escalate some situations, because nobody knows what it's like to compete for a little while in this sport in Oregon. So we got to work with that. And I've got some techniques that I think will be useful for you, but also for kind of rallying the troops, both association wise and as crew chiefs. And even if you're not the crew chief, if you're not the R, how to raise the standard and the enjoyment level for the entire crew, and then by extension, the players and everybody watching. So we'll dig that, and then we'll wrap up with Q&A, and I'll be here for you guys. So we're diving into the stress response. This is some base fundamental information, which is going to frame this entire talk. I put this in because it's useful to understand what's going on with our bodies and our minds, and it explains why the techniques I'll be sharing with you in a little bit are effective. So number one, there is only one stress response for the human body. It's the fight or flight. It's the sympathetic nervous system. You don't have to remember that. All you have to remember is fight or flight is a tiger bursting into your living room right now. So some 500-600 pound apex predator has just burst through your living room or office window and is hungry. Your body's going to do one of two things. It's either going to run away or it's going to fight the tiger. You're trying to get away from that apex predator. And to do that, it's going to do a few things to make it more likely that you'll be able to run away, or more likely that you'll be able to fight it enough before it's like, you know what, I'm going to go for some less hostile prey. This is what's happening to your body in a fight or flight sympathetic reaction. And I'm not going through all of these, but the ones I kind of want to highlight here is that your adrenals and your amygdala are pumping out adrenaline and norepinephrine, cortisol. Your heart rate is going through the roof because blood has to go to your extremities so you can either fight or run away. You're breathing more deeply, but it's up into your chest because you have to pump. You're hyperventilating in a sense there. You're trying to survive for the next 60 seconds. That's what your body's trying to do here. The problem with all of this is that this is great for just surviving for about 60 seconds to 90 seconds. This is not great for chronic stress. This is not great for an entire game that might last an hour and 45, 2 hours for overtime, right? This is what's happening to you at an extended period of time when it comes to chronic stress, and our bodies are not equipped to deal with that, and our brains aren't either. We evolved to fight or flee for a minute of terror, not for 90 minutes of chronic worry, stress, and concern. And the other thing is our body doesn't distinguish between tigers and other stressors. We only have that one stress response. So it doesn't matter whether you had a bad day at work, whether you had a fight with your partner, whether your kid was screaming at you that morning, whether you didn't get any sleep the night before a game, whether you're going into a game and with a coach that you know is a problem usually for you, or you're just worried about your general performance after a year's plus worth of a layover or a layoff, that those are tigers for you. So I'm curious, what tigers are jumping out at you guys right now? As far as your body's concerned, all these potential stressors are all the exact same. I'm going to give you some ways to maneuver around those stressors. But if you want to type into that chat box while I get a quick drink of water here, what jumps out of you as your biggest concerns, your biggest stressors leading into the 2021 season? Okay, nagging injuries, being a rookie. Ah, welcome. All right. You'll be fine. Not really, but you'll be fine. An overloaded schedule. Yes. Coach's responses from Tom. I get you there. Potential exposure to new variants of COVID-19. Certainly. I can see that, any type of health concern on that one, but certainly with having to deal with different, I know in Georgia, I'm dealing with tons of different type of state and conference things, depending on the games I'm going to, and some people test and some don't. It's a bit of a mess. Doing everything simultaneously and being in the right spot, sure. And probably the big one here is, did I get the call right? Yeah, Kevin, I like that. And a 14-month layoff. So there's all of these stressors. All of these are valid. I will certainly say that all of these I agree with. And all of them are triggering the exact same stress response. As far as your body is concerned, when you're thinking about these things, your body thinks it's a life or death situation, even though it isn't, right? So what can we do about this? We work to turn on the parasympathetic nervous system. So again, you don't have to remember sympathetic or parasympathetic. All you have to remember is sympathetic is tiger burst into your living room. Parasympathetic, the relaxation response, is you're sitting on a beach, drinking your favorite cocktail with your feet up, enjoying the nice ocean breeze. That is all that's going through. You are so freaking relaxed. You can think long-term. You can free associate. If problems come in one ear, they kind of go out the other one because, hey, you're on the beach. You're enjoying a pina colada. What possibly could you really be all that stressed out about, right? That's the mentality that this talk, Zen and the Art of Officiating, and the techniques I'll be giving you from my organization, Mental Agility, is going to bring you to. We want to move you from tiger burst into your living room to on the beach with your favorite cocktail, right? And in my case, non-alcoholic. That's entirely okay too. So this is the process that we're going to be going to. This is the nirvana mentally that we want to bring into. And there are many ways in which we can activate this parasympathetic, this relaxation response to any type of stressors, because yeah, it's a problem that we have one type of stress response, but that means we only need, there are multiple ways to enact that one relaxation response, right? So it's a problem and it also has a solution at the same bit there. It's just learning how to turn one on and turn the other off. So tools for officials. This was the first toolkit that I built on my website. You can go into some more specific one. I got about 11 or 12 of them at that link there, mentallyagile.com. You can check those out. I've got about 3 or 4 to go through this evening. And many of these have been roughly the same for different associations that I've done, because the 2021 season, dealing with the layoffs, dealing with rust, dealing with, our coach is going to be cool coming onto the field. I don't know if I know the rules. I'm out of shape. All these things that we're worried about. What COVID protocols am I following? So these are some things to engage that beach on the beach with a cocktail mentality. So first off, circle breathing. This is the simplest breathing exercise I know. I do this before every single game at the national anthem, because it's a built-in pause point in every game. It's 2.5 minutes where no one is going to bug me, and that I can close my eyes. I got my hand here, I got my hat off, and I can breathe for the whole time that song's going on. And all this is it's an exhale fully, inhaling for a 4 count, I do, You hold full in the belly, not the chest, belly breathing. So your belly button's going out, holding full for 4 seconds, exhaling for 6, holding empty for 4 seconds, and then repeating that a handful of times. I do about 3 to 4. Now the count here isn't important, right? Different people's respiratory systems this might be too much or too little for some individuals. All that matters really is that your exhale is longer than your inhale. What that does physiologically is it trips the vagus nerve, which is a main nerve going across the heart, down into the legs. It's a major nerve of the body, but it's also another one that when that one is tripped, that's the relaxation response. That's part of it that turns that system on, that response on. So if you can get to the practice of when you have a pause point in a game, I'm always looking out for those, certainly timeouts, quarter breaks, halftime especially. But the national anthem is a great one because no one's going to come up to you with a question. Everyone's going to be standing somewhere. So you can do circle breathing in that instance. And what I do in that space is just here, I breathe, I say a couple of my mantras, and that is the last thing that I'm doing before my fist bump with the crew that then tells me, all right, cool, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to roll here. And it physiologically brings my system down. And I still get butterflies in every game that I got. So that's bringing my system down. And speaking of butterflies, this is a little add-on tip here. Anybody show of hands get butterflies before games? Yeah. Okay. The brain loves patterns. We are pattern-seeking primates. That's what we like to do. Our brains like to find stories and tell stories, and uncertainty manifests. The reason we have butterflies in our system, if we go back to that picture I saw, the fight or flight response, that's your body trying to get rid of waste in a stressful situation. That's why we always have to go to the bathroom before a game, or we feel that urge. That's to make you lighter to run away from the tiger, or technically to make you less appetizing as a meal to the tiger. And so we get that feeling, that indigestion, that those butterflies rolling in our stomach all over the place. It's a mess. So if you give a pattern to those butterflies, you will calm down quicker. So I imagine my butterflies in a figure 8. Some folks do circles, other guys do squares. Pick whatever shape you want. I don't care. But if you take that chaotic feeling and put some structure behind it mentally while you're doing this breathing exercise, you're going to find yourself coming way down. So give that a roll. Some positive psychology. This is, in the last 10 years, has been probably the most accelerated or hyped up part of psychology that's come around, because it's for a long time, psychology and psychotherapy and psychiatry was all focused on how badly the brain can go. And we're starting to see more about what can be done in terms of just thinking in a more positive sense, and not just being like unnecessarily optimistic. But as a depressive myself, and as somebody who deals with a lot of depressive thoughts, a lot of anxious thoughts just naturally, this is something I've had to work on actively. And it was a book that I read many years ago called It's Not All Black and White, by an SEC official named Mike Leiner. He did the 1987 championship game between Alabama and Georgia. Kind of a big game here in the South, right? So the thing that he says is the difference between good officials and great officials is that great officials want the play coming at them. So he worked the line, and every time he was in a game, every game, no matter what he was doing, he always told himself, I want the play coming my side of the field, because I want the call, I want the no call, I want that play coming my way because I know I'm going to make the right decision. And so the idea here is telling yourself ahead of time, I want the big play, I can adapt to the situation, I'm ready to make the critical call. And to put this in a lacrosse framework, it's crease play. In the last 2 minutes of a tie game, or one with a go-ahead goal in overtime or something, is I don't want to, we've all been in that spot where we're like, please keep the ball as far away from me as possible. I don't want to be involved in this any more than I need to be. But that's a negative mindset that puts you down into that space. So instead, charge into that uncertainty. Say, I want the ball coming at me. In my head, I'm telling a player, come at me, come my way, because I'm going to make the correct call or no call. I've trained for this. I've prepped for this. I've done my pregame. I had good conversation with my crew. I'm ready for this thing. Let me show everybody. Let me show myself. And so this puts you in a more likely position to make the correct call or no call. Tom, out of curiosity, has your partner ever asked you to go to the store to pick up something, and don't forget the milk?
Sure.
What do you forget?
Every time the milk.
Yeah, it's a curious quirk of human psychology where when we put something into the negative, do not do this, what happens? They don't do the thing we wanted them to do, right? Please don't forget about this. They forget about that because it gets segmented in a part of our brain that goes, we don't actually really want to think about negative stuff. And so we block it out a little bit. And then that leads to not actually doing the thing. Whereas if we said, I really need you to get the milk, that's much more likely to actually make that happen. So psychology, all we're saying on this one is if we tell ourselves, I want the play coming at me because I'm ready for it, we are increasing the likelihood that we're going to be focused on the things we need to be. And in that case, running at me, I'm looking at the feet on the crease kind of deal. So this is that quirk in psychology applied to lacrosse officiating. Ghosting. My favorite technique as it applies to officiating. So again, quick show of hands. Has anyone ever been told anytime in their officiating career that they need to learn how to set a threshold? Yep. Keep your hands in the air if you had no idea what the heck that meant, actually how to do it. So this bugged me for a long time because as a trainer, I told people you need to set a threshold, and I never told them how because I didn't know, and I was just parroting things that trainers had told me because they didn't know. And I came across a book called 101 Tips to Be a Better Bouncer, which I was reading because I wanted to be better at engaging with coaches and players in tense situations. And I figured angry drunk people are about the same as angry competitors, right? The behaviors match up very similar. Makes you realize, yeah, we're all human in those ways. And so if I could learn how to deal with anger phrases getting yelled at a bouncer, I could probably do that as an official. Okay. So what is ghosting? It's the complete opposite of developing a thick skin. I do not teach anything until about year 5 about developing a thick skin for newer officials in the GLOA. Because what happens, the trainers will know this, we lose officials before their 3rd year because they're sick and tired of coaches bugging them, of parents yelling at them, of kids being disrespectful, of having arguments back and forth. And then they're like, screw it, you know what, this isn't worth it. But after year 3, you've kind of bought in enough for it where you want to keep doing this thing and you want to keep getting better at it. And even despite all this craziness, and then you learn and develop that thick skin, that takes too long. I'm not interested in that. Right? Ghosting is the opposite of developing a thick skin or a tough hide. Ghosting is becoming a willow tree, in a sense. So the idea here, and you can start this tonight, I highly recommend this week at the very latest, is take some time in an actual notebook, piece of paper, write down words that distract you, phrases that distract you during the course of a game. I'll give you my example. My father's name is Lou Corsetti. He's very well known in the officiating community or in the lacrosse community in Georgia. If a coach calls me Lou in a game, I get distracted. I get pissed off because I'm like, hey, I'm much better looking than my father. You have a card that has my name on it. You know who I am. Don't call me my dad's name. Come on, that pisses me off. I get distracted. Well, what's the problem with that? What am I here for? I'm here for safety and fairness. I'm getting paid at minimum to pay attention. So the moment I'm distracted is the moment I'm no longer officiating, which means I'm no longer there for safety and fairness, which means the coach or player or whatever has impacted negatively the safety and fairness of that game by getting in my head. So what do? We write down the things that are distractions, and we do a visualization technique. This is all pre-game. So you imagine that you're a ghost, you're totally transparent, translucent, whatever you want to call it. All right. Any other word or phrase, hey, Blue, you suck, bend over, use your good eye, whatever it might be, right? I'm always on the lookout for something funny. But whatever isn't on your list, you imagine those as green arrows. Those just go right through you. They have no effect, no whatever. They barely register in your consciousness. What you've written down, what you pre-identified as something that's going to piss you off and get you out of your game, those are red arrows. Those stick. And when something sticks, you act. Now you employ the ramp. Conduct foul turnover, conduct foul 30 seconds, unsportsmanlike, unsportsmanlike again, with an ejection if necessary. When distracted, act. That is setting your threshold. You have to do this ahead of time, writing this stuff down. But in the game, the real question is, are you distracted? Did you take for a split second to go, what the hell did that kid just say to me? I'm distracted. Okay, I'm going to focus now here, and I'm going to throw my flag or do whatever the heck I need to do. Because that coach, that person, that player, whatever, has taken you out of your essential job. That's a problem. Now we can act in the rule book. Right? So ghosting, my favorite visualization technique for officiating. And then one here for kind of rallying the troops. This is going to be a weird season. We can't run away from that. This is going to be odd and probably painful and weird. And it's also been my experience in Georgia, beautiful in a sense. We got 2 weeks where everybody was just happy to see the officials. Granted, those 2 weeks went away pretty darn quick and we're back to competing. But the first 2 weeks of the season was pretty lovey-dovey and sweet and like, yay, we're out here, we're playing, everybody's happy. We got back to business as usual fairly quickly. That's the nature of things. But the biggest thing that I've found in officiating that has helped me personally, and this has been as an official, but also just as a human being recovering from depression, recovering from anxiety, recovering from suicidal thinking, is having a friend or a mentor to vent to. I'm not talking about somebody to ask advice for, that comes later. I'm talking about somebody that you can just offload problems. And I'll be circling back with this at the very end of my talk. I'll be putting a pin in this for a little bit. But whether it's a bad situation, a bad game, frustration, you're out of position, you're feeling rusty, you don't have your legs under you because you haven't actually had to run in 14 months, right? These are things that are going to pile on over time. We all need to be able to offload this stuff to somebody else. So vent, right? Somebody in officiating that needs to understand what's going on. And the idea here during a game is I use physical tics for myself because it snaps me out of my head and gets me into my body, which is another good way to kind of short circuit that fight or flight response and into the relaxation response. So in Laredo's, if anybody has been there, officials have heard or seen clinicians go flush it if they know they made a mistake and they look over at the sideline and the clinician is certainly writing something down and he looks up and he says, flush it, right? Or I brush off my shoulders. I'll physically brush them off, or if I'm running, I'll slap my thigh. That just means if something happens and I'm not quite 100% happy with it, I have to put it away for a minute. So in game, I do some type of physical tic to get that off my mind. I'll come back to it when I have the time to do it, but right now I have to officiate and I can't be worrying about that crease play that I might have gotten right or wrong 45 seconds ago. That doesn't help me now. Right? So vent, physical tic to get that stuff out during the course of the game. Okay. And I am seeing some questions coming in on through this bit, so please keep those things coming. Again, at the Q&A, I'll roll through those bits as well. So verbal judo. This is not my thing. Okay. I love it. I'm a former jiu-jitsu, judo guy, kickboxing guy. So this is where I came into it. So this was written originally, this book. I highly recommend this book, not just for officiating, but for general quality of life improvement. My conversations with people have drastically changed for the better after reading this book. And it's something I read every year or two. So it's George R. Thompson, affectionately known as Rhino. He passed away several years ago from esophageal cancer, but he's a former detective or sergeant from either Nevada or Arizona. I always get those mixed up. And he collected all this advice that cops had for de-escalating tense situations where the fear of bodily harm for either the officer or the people involved was high. And so the question here was, can that person in authority bring that situation down, right? Until people were at least somewhat amicable with each other and could then listen to some directions here. So I pair up a quote from Verbal Judo. We're doing about 3 of these. A quote from Verbal Judo and some look-fors from U.S. Lacrosse that I had made with the training committee in my last year or so at U.S. Lacrosse. So first one, if your antagonist can upset you, he owns you at some level. And I pair this up with our develop allies look for. So the idea here is your objective is to not get pissed off. It's going to happen. It happened to me last week. That's fine. You know, we have ways to deal with that in game. but we're not looking to show that. We're not looking to demonstrate to somebody else that they were able to get under our skin and get us a little bit ruffled. I approach this again more from the positive side, is I'm doing this even preventatively. I am looking to develop allies the second I step onto the field. In some cases, even as I'm walking to the parking lot or from the parking lot to the field. You want to be the model for quality interactions. What's better? I've done this early in my career. I throw a flag on 27 blue and he comes up to me and goes, "What did I do?" And I said, "You know what you did. Go to the box." Well, what does he do? He goes to the box and he's even angrier than he was before. Have I increased the likelihood that he's going to commit another penalty, or have I decreased the likelihood of that? Have I had a good positive interaction with him as an official, or have I made all future interactions with him thinking that officials are jerks? I've done the second. So develop allies. I call this a paying forward mentality. Every single interaction I have on the field is for the crew in the next game. So that if I can bring the coach down, if I can bring the players down to my level, my sense of professionalism and honoring this game and what I think the right way to do it is, that is much more likely for them to go into the next game, giving that crew maybe a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt. That builds over time, right? So we develop allies. This is typically, for me, goalies and faceoff players. This is head coaches. This is also every assistant coach on that bench. I have made very good friends with assistant coaches ever since I realized where head coaches come from. Head coaches come from assistant coach. Nobody becomes a graduate assistant wanting to stay a graduate assistant, right? People want to get into that head coaching role. And they come from assistant coaches. And I've had better times where the head coach is in such a mood, I can't talk to him. But I know John over here for the last few years, we've developed a rapport. I go, "John, hey, just when he gets a second, just let him know this is what I saw. If he's got a question for it, just wave me down." He goes, "Okay, I'll pass that along." Right? You can maintain these different avenues of communication with the head coach without always having to go through the head coach. And you develop allies that last a longer period of time. And you don't shut yourself down. I don't want to shut possible routes of communication off ever. If I need to, I will, but they stay open from the get-go and we go from there. The coach chat. So the verbal judo quote: "What separates professionalism from amateur behavior is giving our opponent no solid grounds to make a stand against us with our comments or our actions." So I've seen this in Laredo's. I've done this. I've seen this across the country. Coach yells something, and what does the official do? "Hey, let me officiate, you coach." Now, what happens during the course of this? Bam, shooter gets hit. Uh-oh, I wasn't officiating, was I? Right? So what did? We had a stressful reaction to something the coach said that distracted us. Now we're not officiating, and now we have a bigger problem. So our entire process, all of our behaviors now have led to an even worse problem. Now the coach is probably even more pissed off and is more likely to do something that now I have to address with penalties that could have entirely been avoided. So as you see on the left here for the coach chat, always facing the field. I tend to, if you guys have noticed, I do this a little bit more in videos, but even in a regular bit, I'm an Italian guy raised by Long Islanders. I speak with my hands, right? These things get me in trouble. And PJ Colello taught me years and years ago that he locks his arms down and puts his hand under his chin. Number one, this is a great self-defense position because it keeps your hands in front of you. That's more for me being jiu-jitsu minded. But the other bit is it always makes you look interested in hearing what the coach has to say. It's incredibly non-threatening to be like this and be like, "Please tell me what's going on." Okay, cool. I got you there. Makes sense. So you keep your eyes on the players. You just sidle up to the coach. And when you need to, smile. Like, it's okay to be human in this bit. Now, you have to read the room. You're not smiling when the coach is yelling at you because his player got hit legally and is now moaning on the ground in pain because he broke something, right? Now it's something that's like, "Hey, coach, it's a legal hit. It's fine." No, read the room, okay? But a smile can go a long way. If they say something funny, you can laugh. It's cool. I had that in my game 2 nights ago. The team puts in their third string line for attack because they're beating this team 18-2. And we call 3 crease violations on that attack line in about 4 minutes. And I'm running up the field on a clear next to the bench, and the coach is yelling at his attackman, hey, you see that big yellow thing around the goal? Don't run into it. And I am dying of laughter. And I'm like, Coach, that's the funniest thing I've heard all week. And we have a little moment. What did we do? We developed an allies. We had a human moment. This is good. But the idea here is we don't finger point. We don't we don't turn away from the field, because those things show up on video and those things show up in email. The coach can be like, well, I was saying something because I was concerned about player safety, and then he turned around to yell at me, and then he missed my player getting hit, and now my kid's concussed and he can't play for the next 2 games. Ooh, now we have a bigger problem. When all we had to do was just, what's up, coach? Okay, I hear you. Boom. Oh, hold up, coach, I got to deal with this. We've solved the problem, right? Before it ever really was one. Last one here. Coach communication. I'll say this sentence and then I'll work through here. Here then is the most powerful sentence that will allow you to interrupt anyone without fear of bodily harm. Let me be sure I heard what you just said. Variations of this. Coach, could you rephrase that for me? I want to understand exactly what it is you're getting at. Coach, I'm not sure I understood you. Could you say that again one more time, please? Okay. All right, I got it. Cool. Here's my response. What does this do? This sentence is PFM. It's pure freaking magic. This takes coaches from here and brings them all the way down to here in about half a second, because it does 2 things simultaneously. Number 1, usually the first time a coach yells something at us, it's not the most coherent thing. I'm sure I'm not the only one on this call who's gotten yelled at or questioned by a coach, and we have no idea what he's talking about, because it's just like, I don't know. And we're trying to process that information and give him an answer, and he's just getting more angry, and we don't know, and it's a mess, right? Cut through all that BS. Coach, can you repeat that for me? I just want to make sure I got where you're coming from. That number 1 allows the coach to go, did I ask that in the best possible, most clearest fashion? Probably not. So he's going to rephrase it a little bit to make it a little bit more clear. But more than likely, we already kind of have a good idea where he's going at. We know why he's pissed off, generally. That allows you, while he's rephrasing his question, his statement, whatever the heck it is, that allows you time to think of a better answer. Not your first one, but a better one. The first thing we want to say is usually not the best thing in the world to say. I don't know if anybody's been in an argument with a significant other. Typically, the first words that come to our lips are not the good ones, right? So by putting it back in their court, coach, could you, I want to understand. I get that you're upset. I get it. Can you please just ask that question for me one more time? I really want to make sure I zero in on what you're asking. Got it. Okay, here's what we saw. And now you can go into that bit. You keep yourself calm. You keep yourself at that 1 calm decibel level. That brings the coach automatically down there. And what this allows you to do is it's telling the coach, I am invested in this conversation. I'm not just going to blow you off. And I will give you the best answer that I have. Now, for the rookies on the call, for the less experienced guys on the call, here's your get out of jail free card. Okay, coach, I get where you're coming from. I hear it. Let me go get my crew chief, who's going to give you the best answer we got. Use your crew chief ruthlessly. If you do not feel comfortable answering that question, that sounds like a great question for Mr. Hoffer. Let me go grab him. Or, you know what? That's a great question. I'm going to go get Mr. Harridges, and he's going to get you at halftime. If we don't know, if you're not comfortable, use your crew chief and then listen to what that crew chief says so that you can do it the next time without the training wheels, right? Very useful get out of jail free card in that space. If you're the crew chief, you got to deal with it. That's your role. Sorry, you're driving the bus. That's what happens there. When you hit potholes, you got to be the one readjusting the wheel there. Okay, so the last bit about verbal judo, and then we'll deal with some other specific things, and then we'll kind of start wrapping this evening up. So this is, again, this is verbal judo's model for conversation. Now, whether you want to believe that this is true or not is immaterial. This is what happens every single time you open your mouth when you wear stripes. This is what happens every single time you interact in any way, shape, or form with coaches, players, parents, fans, bench personnel, trainers, and your partners. This is what happens. You are the star of the show, which is a little weird because typically when we talk about officiating, we say, hey, we want to be invisible, right? We don't want to, we want to blend in, right? We want to be green. We don't want to notice those officials. I'm flipping the script here a little bit, and I'll come to why at the end of this discussion here. You're the star of the show. You're the only one there with your partner or partners who can manage this situation, who has the training, the rules knowledge, the ability to take care of this game. So you're in command. Your job is to be the star when the situation requires you to do that. And that's any interaction during the course of that game. So here's what happens. Every single time you open your mouth, the line goes to the left. And we represent, in this case, the Oregon Lacrosse Officials Association. We always, in every interaction, represent the OLOA. In a larger sense, every lacrosse official in the country, every lacrosse official across the globe. In an even bigger sense, anyone who's ever worn stripes in anything ever. Right? So, but in the small, concentrated sense here, just in this state, this is the OLOA. This is what you represent when you're wearing your stripes. And this continues. So we go around and we go to the coach, right? That's the coach. You notice the Oregon Lacrosse Association, nice little circle there. Very nice, soothing circle, very calm shape. But the coach is rigid, square, harsh, unyielding. And that coach is dealing with a lot of FUD. That's HR speak for fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? The FUD is real. Think about this. You're a coach who just spent all week putting together the perfect practice plan for this opponent, your rival. And whether you win or lose is dependent on the actions of 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old teenagers. Wow. If that isn't a recipe for stress, I don't know what is. Not only that, you've been in control with your practice plan, with how you run practice, with getting to and from the fields, with getting all the equipment that the players need and being there for them. You've been in control of everything all week. And now it's Friday and you're out of control. Suddenly that's handed over to the referees. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. This is partly why we play the game, because we like that feeling, but we have a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Our role as officials is to start eliminating that, to start corralling that fear, that uncertainty, and doubt through our conversations. And we do this over and over and over again. We keep doing this. And you notice it's an infinity symbol here, right? Because these conversations never end. There's never an end point. It's always, you just plugged into the flow of this. And the idea becomes, you start noticing that that square starts starting to look a little bit more like a circle. It's never going to get all the way there. Coaches want to win the game. That's fine. We want a safe and fair game. Those things do not always mesh, right? But if we can bring the coach a little bit in line with how we see the game, the more likely it is that they're going to have better interactions with us in the future, that they're going to see what it is that we see from a safety and fairness standpoint and give us a little bit of the benefit of the doubt in those critical moments. Now, what starts happening here? The square starts looking a little bit more like a circle. We've started to cut through and eliminate, or at least sand down, that fear, that uncertainty, and doubt. But notice that the star is almost gone. The star is invisible now. It's gone away. The model for conversation stays. And so the difference here is, it's not like I'm showing up to a game as a coach and I see Mr. Bob Wire on the field and going, you know what? I know I'm going to have a great game. This is going to be a well officiated game. I know Bob. I know how he officiates. I know I can have a conversation with him. This is going to be great. Whereas I show up to another game and with an official I don't know, and I'm like, oh, we're going to have problems here. My FUD is increasing because I don't know this official. Whereas if everybody buys into this model of conversation and commits to calm professional dialogue at all times, it's no longer an individual official who is giving that coach a calmer sense as he's stepping onto the field. Now it's anybody wearing an OLOA patch. Now just having that on your shoulder, we're seeing that in the game assignment. The coach knows, I might not know this official, but they're trained, they're with the OLOA. I think we're going to be all right. And that now makes it much more easy to have a new relationship with two people who don't know each other, coach to official. And it makes it much more likely to have better conversations down the road, right? So embrace this model for conversation. Read Verbal Judo because it goes into some significant depth about how to engage in effective conflict de-escalation in life and death situations. And while we don't have that, again, back to the other bit, your brain doesn't recognize the difference between life and death situations where they got to run and fight and these chronic stressors. As far as the body's concerned, they're the same. So if we can approach this way and utilize what works in these life and death interactions on the lacrosse field, we know they work in these spots. So we know they can work when the stakes are a little bit lower or a good bit lower. Okay. Next, ref up. So this is a little bit building up our troops here, right? Here we go. I love philosophy. I'm a nerd in that sense. I'm a nerd in many senses, but philosophy I do enjoy. Nietzsche has this quote that I consider greatly. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. And I've read this. I've also read a good bit Viktor Frankl, who survived Auschwitz and is a Nobel laureate writer, also pointed back to this idea of suffering is inevitable. And I'm getting deep here, bear with me. I'll come back to lacrosse officiating in a minute, right? But being alive involves some measure of pain. And really the way we forge ahead is by finding meaning within that. And so if we have a why behind what it is that we're doing, we can to be able to deal with anything that is thrown in our path, whatever obstacle that may be, whatever pain that may be. So this is why, again, this is something I encourage you all to do, maybe not this evening, just something to consider this week, but definitely something to write down before your very first game this season, is a mission statement for officiating. So this is my mission statement. I've refined this over the years, and I like things as short and as sweet as possible. But for mine is, I give my best effort so the players have the best experience possible. Okay, what does this actually mean? This means that every single time, whether it's a 10U game or a D1 game, I don't care. I'm giving the very best of my physical effort, my mental effort, my emotional effort, my de-escalation skills, every tool I have brought to bear in learning how to do this the best possible way, I'm gonna bring forward. Can I always do that? No, but if I'm going for that, I'm getting there more often than not. If I do that, the players are going to have the best experience possible. This is good. Why? Because it's not my game. It's the player's game. If I keep my focus on the player's experience, I am more likely to call a safe and fair game as opposed to inflating my ego or being able to ignore or not ignore something that a coach says, whatever. This doesn't mean I'm not throwing flags. The best experience for the players in a game that isn't safe is throwing flags all freaking night long and icing my shoulder later. This allows me to be flexible in terms of my approach to whatever the game is going to throw at me. But this also just keeps me at a high standard, and that is meaningful to me. Now, if you're just starting off, you might not have a very deep mission statement, and that's okay. That's where you're starting off. It doesn't have to be this. You're more than welcome to steal mine, right? But it can be, I want to earn more money to go to college, or I want to go do this to be able to afford my wedding, or whatever the heck. It's okay to have that. Of, I want to be in better shape. Okay, cool. That's your mission statement. Now, how can we translate that into better performance? Keeping that in mind. Again, at the national anthem, I'm doing my circle breathing, but I'm also saying my mantras. Focus, 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 have fun. Be here, be present, be here for the players. That keeps me there. Okay. That keeps me in the game and not in my head or in the future about whatever problems I might have. Because if I'm in my head, if I'm ruminating about the past, if I'm thinking about some future argument with a partner or a work commitment I've got, I'm not at the game. I'm not paying attention. So the players then can't have the best experience possible. And then no matter what happens during the game, as long as I know I gave my best effort. And some days that might be 75%. I work in the utility trade. I'm digging holes all day through Atlanta red clay and granite, right? Operating a 150-pound jackhammer all day and then refereeing is a recipe for being a little tired. And so I might not be running as hard as I possibly can, but I'll be focusing. I can offset those things. So have a mission statement, and it's okay for your mission statement to be broad, small, long, short, whatever. It's got to be true to you. If you have that, you are going to have a much better experience on the field because you have a why. You're going to be able to withstand whatever's coming your way. Take care of your crew. This was one of the last things that I had. We had a theme every year in training with our certified trainer and observers program and then a signers program of kind of an overarching theme for the year that we would focus all of our attention toward. And one of the last ones we did was take care of your crew. We had black wristbands made, fun thing to do. And the idea here was a final reminder that it doesn't matter if you're the crew chief, if you're the umpire, if you're the field judge, if you're the CBO, if you're the water boy in a championship game, don't care. If you're just there to check out the pregame with the crew, everybody who's there for that game can do something to take care of the crew. When I observe officials, I have two things that I tell them. Number one, I want you to be in position or be working to get to a better position. Right? I can't do much else in an observation if you're not where you need to be based on the play. So that's number one. Number two is a little bit more open-ended. I say something weird is going to happen in this game. Something's going to get confused. Some point is going to go the wrong direction. Something strange is going to happen, big, little, whatever. When that happens, I want somebody on this crew to recognize that and take steps to address eliminating that confusion. That's what I want to see happen. Those are my two keys when I observe guys at every level. And I put that on like, that's not just the crew chief's job. That's not just the rules guy who's on the crew's job. That's whoever notices that something is weird and that's going to negatively impact the player's experience, right? An incorrect crease call, pointing the wrong direction, and not locking the deep pocket in for 2 minutes now, instead of putting it at 1 minute. Whoever recognizes that can bring that up to the whole crew. Be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's make sure we get this right. Now, what have we done? We have taken care of the crew. We have bonded each other more. We have increased our level of trust, and we have shown everybody in the stadium that the crew is working together, that it's not just 2 or 3 individuals out there, that we are there for each other's backs, and to circle all the way back to those referee commercials where everybody is just yelling at the officials. We're the only ones who are there for each other, right? People I know care. I have great friends who are coaches and players and assistants and whatevers and ADs, and they hate my guts sometimes as I'm leaving the field. That's okay. That's part of the deal, right? But if we take care of one another, if we put that first and foremost, or really second most, again, for the players, and then take care of that in my head. But if we keep that in our heads as I'm going to use every opportunity of my focus during the course of this game and the course of this season to make my crew look better, to be good, to get it correct. At the end of the day, we're going to have a much better experience as officials. If we have a better experience, the players are going to have a better experience. That means the game as a whole is going to be better. That means I'm much more likely to sign on for another year of this insanity and we'll come in for 2022, right? So just from a pure recruiting standpoint, if we can get more into this bit of just like, you know, I get first year guys and they get nervous working with me. I'm like, okay, I get it. Cool. I've been in your shoes. That makes sense. And I need you. I need you, if I do something that doesn't make sense, to stop, slow stuff down, or ask me, because I might be doing something that's appropriate for a college game that isn't appropriate for this U15 game. And I need to know about that. I might not be aware of that fact, right? Because this is the first U15 game I've done in a year and a half. So these are the things you can rely on guys, even if they aren't at your level, or if you don't expect that they are, or that you have enough chops, so to speak, or experience to say no, everybody is equal after the coin toss. That's how things roll on my crew. As a crew chief, all I do is flip a coin. After that, we're all equal, and we can do what we need to do to take care of the crew. Okay, a couple books here before the Q&A, a few that I referenced, a few that I didn't. First one I recommend is As They See 'Em, A Fan's Travels in the Land of Umpires. A New York Times journalist actually went through Major League Baseball's umpire training program, I think in Kissimmee, Florida, and backpacked with minor league umpires going through if you think we deal with rough coaches and situations as lacrosse officials, we don't have any type of experience like what baseball umpires deal with. Not even close. Part of that's a cultural thing. But if you want some horrid stories, read that, but also some great ways to deal with some craziness. We talked about It's Not All Black and White by Mike Leiner. First Down and Life to Go changed how I officiate. It made me a better official from almost the first page. It's by Red Cashin. It's how he got himself into the NFL by becoming a more human official. And I'll just say, if I could say that there's one book on here that I highly recommend you read, it's that one, because it is fan-frickin-tastic. He just has so many great anecdotes and just a great story. Nobody's Perfect, with Jim Joyce having robbed Armando Galarraga of a perfect game by calling a safe on the very last out of a no-hitter, and he was the only one in the entire stadium and across the country who thought this player was safe. They actually got together and wrote a book on their experiences there, and how they became friends over this, and how, again, they had a human moment and a continued human moment about dealing with errors. And that's what's going to happen in sports. And then finally, a little plug for myself is Advancement Rules, Improving Your Lacrosse Officiating. It's only available in Kindle form, but if you want to read what really was my focus about 8 or 9 years ago as an official, you can. I'm working on a second version. I don't know exactly when that's going to come out, or a second edition, but one will happen in the next few years here for that, which will be a more all-encompassing bit of my now 13, 14 odd years of officiating. So highly recommend these. So we'll do a Q&A, because we're right about on time here for that. I will kind of run through this. If you got specific questions, just in kind of general, whatever, if you've got stuff that you're really worried about for this season, type that in here. Before I start getting to that bit, this Q&A, I kind of big circle back to that venting thing to a friend or mentor. Not everybody has that right away, especially rookies. Hey, there we go. Thanks, Russell. So if you want to right now, as we're getting set up for the Q&A, you can follow me on all the social media stuff. You can send me an email there. My website is mentallyagile.com. Check that out. I blog every week, sometimes multiple times a week, about different therapeutic modalities, different ways to think about how we think, philosophy and the like. But also right now, here's the activity for this moment. That's my cell number. Put that into your phone right now, please. Send me a text with your name. I will get back to you once we're off of this call. I'll save your contact information. If you don't have a friend or mentor yet, now you have one. Okay? And I'm speaking with guys all across the country. It's selfish for me because I get to talk more lacrosse, which is always fun. But I get some interesting scenarios and situations from guys, and it also helps me improve as a teacher and getting a sense of kind of what guys are thinking about and going through across the country, which then molds into future talks and stuff like that. But really, this is, when I started off, I was very lucky at the GLOA. And then when I was at US Lacrosse, with just the amount of colleagues and mentors and folks who were just open with sharing information with me, of talking through scenarios. And that is something that I still want to pay forward. So utilize me. If that's something, if you're not comfortable talking to anybody who you know, if you don't know me, that's fine. Just send me a thing and we'll talk, and that'll be just between us. And the cool thing is one day you'll be in Georgia or I'll be in Oregon, and we'll do a game together. That stuff happens in the summer tournament season, which hopefully with these vaccines we'll be getting there. So send me a note with your name. I will get back to you on that, and I'm going to keep a dialogue going through the season. So we'll have this guy here. Actually, I'll leave that up there for, there we go. We'll leave that up on that. So Q&A stuff, let me run through, start typing stuff if you got that. If guys want to talk, Tom, if you want to manage that bit there. So let me see here. I'll just kind of roll through. Yeah, go ahead.
Gordon, best advice you have when you're a crew member working with a new official?
I'm working with a very first year official. I'm putting them at ease. Number one, this is already hard enough. The days of trial by fire are over, and they lasted for longer than I think they needed to. So I'm telling my first year official, look, I want you to do one thing today, only one, and then just to watch the shooter on shots. I genuinely do not care if he cannot blow his whistle. I'll manage around that. Right. But I can't, if we can't build around, for me as a trainer, but also as an observer with my officials here and seeing this around the country, if we can't start from there's only ever one person watching the shooter on a shot, right? Even his own parents aren't watching him. They're watching where the ball is going. Okay. So we have to be able to establish that as a baseline. Everything else comes second. So it's like, really watch the shooter on a shot and blow your whistle loud. If you can do those two things, I can work with you. Because if you're blowing it too soon on a restart, or if I'm watching you on a face-off and you don't say set, but you have a nice loud, I can work, or I can mold you and tell you what you need to do there. I had one official earlier in the season blowing the whistle in when the kid was 6 yards out of bounds. Well, he was a basketball official. Of course he's going to do that. But at least the whistle was nice and loud, and I could see what the problem was, and I just ran it. Just wait till he's all the way on the field. Oh, okay, problem solved. But every time I work with a brand new official, the very first shot, I'm not watching the ball. I'm watching the shooter as the lead official to see if my partner, my first year partner, is watching that shooter. If he is, I don't have a problem. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to keep an eye out for things if he needs help. But if he does the brim of the hat turn and watches the ball, I go, ooh, we have to have a conversation, and I have to watch the entire field for the entire game, right? So that allows, that critique and that focus allows me to start introducing that new official to, this is a two-man, this is a team system, and we each have different responsibilities.
Next up, Gordon, in reference to your ghosting, is it up to each individual official to identify the number of things that cause the ghosting, or do you have a recommended number?
I don't have a recommended number. It's a really great question as far as like, I would say if you have a lot of things that are distracting you, maybe you start looking as, am I the problem? So just there's a little bit on that bit, that this is a little introspective of an exercise. But I also use this as a different thing. My scale changes. The number of things I have to change depending on the game. So I use Brian Abbott, who's one of the all-time current president in ILOA, has done every championship game you could think of, international official, Major League Lacrosse championships. He's been there, done that, and then some. He has a great way of putting this in terms of commentary that you hear during the course of a game. And he says, my level of hearing is inversely proportional to the amount of money I'm getting paid for that game. So if me personally, if I'm working a 10U game, I'm getting like $35, $40. Whereas I did a D3 game 2 nights ago and I got $350. I'm being paid more in that game to ignore some more stuff. In the U11 game or the 10U game, whatever that is, I actually have rabbit ears. Why? Because if a coach is cursing at his players or a parent is being ridiculous from the sidelines, what is that doing to my mission statement? That means the players aren't having the best experience possible. I have to shut that down. But in a high school, college game where emotions are heated in that rivalry setting, I've got to be able to eat some more stuff. I've got to be able to allow stuff to pass through me a little bit more. So it might change depending on where you're at. But I would say that the easy one here is anything that becomes personal. So you are terrible versus you are a terrible versus that call was terrible. That kind of thing. That's a decent kind of differentiator. But I would say, like, if you're starting to write down a lot of stuff, just circle your top 3. Those are the ones to worry about. And always, especially in the summer, when we get there, it can be entertaining for yourself and also put you in a more positive frame of mind to be on the lookout for stuff that's funny and new. So the very first time a coach said, "Hey, ref, I found your phone on the sideline." I'm like, "No, you didn't." He was like, "Yeah, no, it's definitely your phone. It says 8 missed calls on it." And I had to laugh because it's the funniest damn thing I had heard all week. Right. So I got to give you that one. I might be pissed off about it, but you know what? That was pretty good. I'll give you that. But the point about ghosting is that you have to be preventative about that in your mind and your preparation.
How often, how early do you reach out to your crew after getting a game assignment?
High school, 72 hours, college game the week of or a week before. And I work in the utility industry, so I'm checking the weather every freaking, seems like 30 minutes, it seems, especially if I'm on storm. But yeah, so I'm checking that. Always bring everything. If you're a rookie, get all the weather options that you can have, put the money in for that. But I'd say, hey guys, you know, we're going to meet at the field at 6 o'clock for a 7 o'clock face off. Weather's looking good, so shorts and longs, but bring it all just in case. And we'll make a final decision in the parking lot as a crew.
Tips for having a conversation with a coach when you can't address it during live ball play, but you want to get back to them.
I start that in the pregame certification. So after we do all the, you know, captains, all that good jazz, whatever, and COVID protocols, that might be via email, but we still have to like introduce ourselves to the coach beforehand. I asked the coach, comments, critiques, questions, or comments, concerns, or questions for me today, for us. They might have something. I was like, okay, cool. If you have something during a game, we'll come to you if we have the time. If not, we'll circle back. And that already puts a bug in their ear that I'm interested in keeping that conversation going. But I've been sprinting by a coach who has a question. I'm like, Coach, I'll get to you at the face-off or whatever. Coach, I will get back to you. The only key thing there is you have to get back to them at the next available opportunity. You cannot let that wait, right? So if a coach asks me something, I said, Coach, I'll get you at the next time out. The very next time out, I am going up to him. And more often than not, I'm like, hey, Coach, I'm here for you. What you got? He's going to go, what are you talking about? Oh, no, I'm past that already. That's fine, but thank you. And it shows, again, that you are invested in having a conversation with him. So it's perfectly okay to be like, Coach, don't be like, not right now. No, I'm refereeing. That's not how. 2 seconds, Coach, I'll be with you. Right.
Love it. Devin, you can take yourself off mute. We are up against it. So I'm going to knock our final 3 questions out pretty quick. Devin, go ahead.
Awesome. Thanks, Gordon. Devin Bentz here. I'm a 4th-year official. I was just curious about what are some things that impress you the most when you're evaluating a crew chief? Thank you.
Wow, that's a good question. Could you rephrase that? No, I'm not going to have you redo that bit so I understand it. No, that's a really great question. I'd say when I'm evaluating a crew chief, I'm looking for a guy who is understanding the game flow. The biggest thing that stands out to me is a crew chief that knows exactly when a foul is going to release based off the scoreboard. And I can hear or see the coach asking that official a question, and the guy's like, nope, he's at 7:45. That crew chief looks psychic. It's incredible. It makes the whole crew look freaking good. Or I see that official give the thumbs up, even up, we're all even in transition to his partners so that they know we're 6-on-6 instead of 6-on-5 in that transition. So it's those recognitions of an official who is trying to do more than just officiate the game. When you start becoming a crew chief, you start having to be more aware of these higher level things. And the first way to start doing that is to start recognizing when the penalty is going to be out. And then if you can start doing that in simultaneous foul situations and multiple foul situations, you're like, nope, we're all leaving at 4:02, and you're going to be 30 seconds on a 6-on-4 until 4:32. And you can rattle that off. That just looks freaking impressive. It takes some work, it takes some focus, but when the game slows down a bit for you around that 4 to 6 year level, you can start adding now that extra element of focus into your game.
Real quick, do you have a couple good canned statements that you use to respond to upset coaches? Something that you kind of have pre-wired?
I hear you. And okay. I hear you doesn't say anything. It just acknowledges that I heard what you said. And that's great. Sometimes that's a hand in the air. I hear you. I get you. Cool. And okay. That was terrible. Okay. What do you mean, okay? okay. And then by then I've run away. Right. So those are two phrases that cannot get you in trouble.
And lastly, love this one, Kevin. Great question. What's your process for post-game reflection to grow and improve prior to the next game?
So for 13 years, and even still, I keep an officiating diary. That's my notepad. It's got all my stuff and my printed out rule book and all that kind of stuff there. And I'll make a couple of key notes for myself in that game if I'm the crew chief, especially. But I've done this, and I was annoying in my first year, and I kind of always maintain that this is okay to be. I would ask the exact same question to my partners after every game. Do you have any comments, critiques, or comments or critiques for me? And whether they had something or not didn't matter. I didn't care who it was that was giving me the advice. I would write it down. And if it matched with what was being taught nationally, then I followed it. If it didn't, I'm like, that's just a quirk for that individual. But I would write all that stuff down, and I still do now. I write down weird plays, and I circle back with people that I trust, my mentors, my friends who know these things inside and out. And we talk through them and we figure them out. But there's power in writing stuff down. It gets it out of your head. You stop ruminating about it. But then when you have it down, you have a very interesting memento of a season. And I know 2021 is going to be an interesting season for us all. So this might be something that we actually want to look back on as well. So write your stuff down. And if I can make that little psychological point here, and I'll be done, is I don't remember rules like 7.11 and 4.3. I remember rules based off of people. So I have the Mike Culver rule, or I have the Tom Hoffert rule, or I have the Jim Carbonneau rule. And those are rules that happened in a game that were weird, that I saw one of my, mentors or a more experienced official handle it well. And so when I'm in a game and I run into that similar situation, I'm like, I know exactly what to do. My mentor Culver took care of that. Jim Carbonneau, I remember exactly what he did. So it's another way to latch onto, because numbers are abstract in most of our brains. Unless you're like an MIT engineer or something like that, if you can make it a more personal thing in your rule study and note when those games occurred and who you were with when those weird rules popped up, much more likely to remember that in the future.
Gordon, on behalf of our association, you're a tremendous official, great leader, and I think Russell did it all as well. Take care of your crew. I have a handful more of those. I always grab them when I'm back around Charlie or you. So great job tonight. And on behalf of our association, Gordon, know that you always have a home in Oregon, and everything you've done in your personal journey, we are extremely proud to be associated with you and learn from you. So thank you, sir, for your time tonight. This is going to be put up on YouTube, and I'll make sure you get that link as well. But you always got friends here on the West Coast, Gordon. So thank you for your time so much tonight and for joining us.
My pleasure, gentlemen. Have a great season. And more importantly, I wish you a great season and an end to the 2021 season that we all deserve. So let's make it to the playoffs. Let's rock and roll.
Yes, you are right on there. All right, gentlemen, we are going to thank you, Gordon, and we'll look forward to one other note. Kyle Verding put in the chat menu, if you click Gordon's link and go under the About section, which is midway on the right-hand side, all you have to do is click, there's a single link to enter your email, and you can receive updates from Gordon. You will receive a confirmation email upon doing that. Very simple, very easy to do. And I'd encourage you all to follow Gordon's work and use those resources as you see appropriate. Know in our field, there are a lot of experts in the officiating world, but Gordon is one of those specific to lacrosse. And it's wonderful to have him as a friend to this association, and of course the associations across the nation. So Gordon, we salute you and look forward to seeing you in the near future, my friend.
Sounds good. I don't want to leave without if I got co-host stuff, so take me off of that and I'll buzz on out of here.
Yeah, we don't want you shutting it down. Let's see. Remove co-host. Okay, you can't do anything now, my friend.
Awesome, man. Y'all take care. Have a lovely rest of the week, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
Gordon. Bye-bye. Mr. Russ, I know we compressed your time a little. Our apologies for that, but you'll need to take yourself off mute. We got 12 hard-hitting minutes, but we do know we've got another veterans training session coming up, Russ. So with that, if you're ready to take yourself off mute, we're going to turn it over to you again.
There we go, off mute. Okay, good. All right, let's get back to this stuff here. Let's share that. Good. Now I got to do something else over here where I want. My computer's extremely slow some days. I want that one there. Okay, good. All right. That was Gordon. Next, I wanted to jump in. So I was reading the rule book again. I started reading sections rule 7, which is all about penalty enforcement. This is where we really earn our money. This is where all the confusing stuff happens. When you have multiple penalties and half of them are live ball, half of them are dead ball, and some are releasable and some are unreleasable, and some guys start at the same time and some guys go in the box later. How do you sort through that? And so what I want to do in these last 11 minutes is kind of go through rule 7, kind of do a deep dive. If you have your rule books, get them out, start looking through them. If you haven't opened it up since you got it, open up now. And I just want to kind of go through the sections, and there's, I think, 13 sections in rule 7, if I remember right. I could be wrong, but like Gordon, I don't remember numbers. I think Ross Lancaster was the best numbers guy in the world. Yeah, rule 713.2 says this. Oh yeah, that's right. I just kind of remember the ideas, and I like the way they flow from my engineering mind. They flow really well together. But I'll just start, rule 1, especially what to do with the penalty. Guy sits in front of the scores table. He can kneel there. He can sit there. Just one in front of the scores table. That helps us when we count offsides. We go, oh, 2 guys in the box. Okay, only 1 guy can cross the line. Good. If he's in the box during face-off and his time expires during that face-off but no one has possession, he stays in the box till you call possession or until you have a restart. Number 2 is penalty time. Again, it starts the next whistle that resumes play. Some running time games like JV games, say, oh, get in the box, start the penalty time. No, you start the penalty time when we blow the whistle. Penalties carry over the next quarter or to overtime. Common penalty time is non-releasable. And then this one also talks about, if a player has a unsportsmanlike conduct and a slash, well, you serve the unsportsmanlike conduct first and then the slash, because it's non-releasable first, then releasable. And then it talks about stacking, which we really don't get a whole lot of anymore because of the second defensive penalty kills the flag down slow whistle. So stacking doesn't happen a lot. It would happen if you have a big brawl on the field. Section 3 is really good for defining where you restart the ball. That's its whole purpose. Where do you restart the ball? And that's what section 3 talks about. So there's some, typically it's a free clear if it's in defendant's team's defensive half of the field. It's usually going to start outside the goal area unless the defensive team gets the ball or the goalie gets the ball, then they can restart in the goal area. If the ball goes, if you have a flag down and a shot and the ball goes on the end line behind the goal, well, that's where you're going to restart. Simultaneous live ball fouls, you'll restart it where the whistle was or just outside the goal area. There's no free clear on those. But then again, as you just dig into these and start deep diving into these, you'll find some of these points. All right. As far as penalty enforcement goes, team penalties. All right. Let's say you have going downfield, all of a sudden you look up and you see 7 guys, on defense plus the goalie. So 7, 8 down there. So somebody's offsides. You don't know which guy was offsides, but someone's offsides. Well, in that case, it's going to be the in-home going to serve that play. No specific player, a coach or a player. Let's say a player on the bench starts yelling at you. All right, well, he's not in the game, so the in-home is going to serve the penalty for that one. And then if you have the in-home serving and you get more penalties that are required, team penalties, they'll more the attack players will be playing. This next one on dead ball fouls, it's very important. This phrase. Oh, hang on a second. There we go. Sequence matters. Okay, if you can step through dead ball fouls and say, this guy was, had the first conduct foul, and this guy had the second contact foul, and this guy had unsportsmanlike, and then you just keep turning the ball over, back to A, team B, team A, team B, team A. That sequence matters for dead ball fouls. All right. Section 6, there we go, simultaneous fouls, it finally moved. All right, this is where everybody kind of, Gordon says, I want the big play coming to me. Well, this is the one where, most referees goes, I don't want to deal with simultaneous fouls. I don't want to do, but I want these but for me, I like them. I want them to come to me because it's just a logical sequence you have to talk yourself through. And a lot of times that is the key to getting these things right. Just talk yourself through the sequence, A1/B1, B1/A1, B2 had a unsportsmanlike. Oh wait, B2's unsportsmanlike was dead ball, so that's going to change some things. So simultaneous fouls are simply fouls called on opposing teams during the same live ball. Okay. Typically they won't happen at the same time. A1/B1 and a minute later B1/A1. Or they're during a dead ball when you can't determine the sequence. This would be typically two kids start fighting and you don't know who started the fight, or you do stick checks on opposing teammates and both sticks are illegal. Well, whose was illegal first? We don't know. So that's where you can't determine the sequence. All right. If there's no flag down or play on, technical fouls, cancel. Let's say two kids start getting each other's face and start kind of, posturing in that, and they're not fighting. They're just kind of puffing their chest, and you break it up quick enough because you're tuned into that and you de-escalate it quickly. Well, those are technical conduct fouls. They'll cancel. They don't serve any time. So those will cancel. Basically, if you have simultaneous fouls, the team in possession or entitled possession commits a technical foul, we have no time served by that team. So basically, let's say you have B1/A1 and then A1 wards. Well, A1s will not serve time for that ward. But here's the opposite. Team in possession or entitled possession commits a personal foul, all players serve time. This is why we keep our play on short. Loose ball, B1 pushes A1. Okay, play on. All of a sudden, A1 turns around, slashes B1. Oh, got a flag down. Now you've got the case for A1 for his loose ball push is going to serve 30 minutes or 30 seconds. And in section 6, as we go along here, the most important thing about section 6 is go down and study and understand the situations for section 7-6. Some of them are missing information. They don't complete the situation. They don't say who gets the ball or where the ball is going to restart. Add that to your rule book. Just look through those, read through them, study them out in your mind, draw a picture if you have to, draw out a diagram, and just step through the steps. Say, okay, this is where it's going to restart. And it's really, it helps a lot. All right, so in simultaneous fouls, I'll talk about whichever team has less total time, they get possession. If there's equal time, the team in possession or entitled to possession, they'll get possession. Of course, if there's equal time but no possession, you're going to go AP, or if a face-off is pending, you'll do a face-off. All right, sections rule 7. Come on, change. There we go. Again, fouls at the end of the period. Well, by definition, those are going to be dead ball fouls. Again, dead ball fouls, sequence matters. Make sure you step through the sequence. And then they talk about the restart per section 4.3. I added section 4.3.1 exception 2 because that's the one we talked about. If you have a face-off, but a player commits a foul during or before the face-off, the ball is awarded the offended team in the offensive side of the field at the center. Basically, dead center, one step over midline. And again, the key with dead ball fouls is just maintain the sequence. Know who committed what when, and just step through it in your mind, and you'll end up with the right answer. And if you don't end up with the right answer, sell what you have, and no one will know the difference. All right, talk about slow whistle technique. Okay, balls in possession, defense commits a foul, throw the flag, yell flag down. Hopefully your team is your teammates are echoing it. If you don't echo it, that's okay. Don't wait 30 seconds to echo it because then they'll think a second flag has been thrown. And for stopping the slow whistle technique, it's the GOODY acronym. You get goal, out of bounds, got offensive penalty or offensive timeout. Defense gains possession or defense commits a second foul as long as it's not a scoring opportunity. Basically, the guy is winding up to shoot, let that shot go. There's an injury on the field that you have to stop play for. Someone gets injured right in the middle of right in front of the crease. Okay, you need to deal with that. Someone loses equipment or the end of the period. Those are other times when you can stop the flag down slow whistle. Again, previous years, it used to be the ball hit the ground, ball came out of the box. That's no longer the rule. So that's why they added that second defensive penalty, because they don't want, loose balls and people hacking and whacking as much as they can, just get the ball down. But if the ball is loose, or if the offense commits the foul, it's immediate safety, or if it's safety related, it's immediate whistle. Let's say you see the defensive player in the crease. You can't let the play go on with that. That's a flag down, immediate whistle. Section 9, when you finish the slow whistle, okay, goal's going to wipe out the slow whistle. Goal's going to wipe out a technical foul, but the personal foul is still served, and unless something else happens, you'll have a man down face off. Because it was a live ball foul. If you don't get if the goal doesn't happen, there's no goal. Benji's doing something here. What you got, Benji?
My apologies.
You coloring on my screen? That's weird.
Hey, Russ, we're at 8 o'clock. So.
All right. Okay, good deal. Okay, guys. Really, one more key thing about play on technique. Keep your play on short. Again, it's designed there to let the offended team regain or maintain an advantage. If they can't get an advantage, kill the play, give them the ball, let them restart. So another thing on your play-ons, when your plan ends, you reset your 10 or 20 counter and verbalize it, counter reset or new 10, new 20. So everybody knows, you got your 10-second count going, you're at 5, and you have a play on, tweet, play on, loose ball, push, white ball, reset 10. Then you start your 10 count again. All right, ejections. The new rule is that the coach ejection is 1 minute. Ian Holmes going to serve that. And if we make an error, the whole idea here is to correct that error quickly. The coach can get a double horn on the next dead ball. Say, hey, Mr. Official, you put my guy in for 2 minutes non-releasable for an offsides penalty. Oh wait, that's right, coach, only 30 seconds. Sorry, 30 seconds, go from there. But the official thing is, make sure we want to correct their penalty promptly. Read through section 13 of the rule book, kind of understand what they're saying in there as far as there's some odd cases by the second whistle, and if you have a face off and But the key is we want to get the play right.
Hey, Russ, if I could,
yeah,
I'd suggest we continue. We can start with this next week.
Okay.
We got to stay true to people's schedules.
You're right. All right, guys, here's the deal. Signing starts probably tomorrow or Tuesday, Wednesday, sometime in that time frame. Next Sunday, a week from today, 6 to 8 o'clock, same bat time, same bat channel. Scrimmages start in a week from tomorrow, guys. Week from tomorrow, we're on the field. Pretty darn exciting. And real games start the 14th. So that's all I got tonight, guys. I'm going to give it back to Tom.
Thanks, Russ. You mind? There we go.
There we go.
Okay, guys, a couple quick issues that I was asked to touch on. First of all, correct, I did miss Tom Johnson on our board group that are on this call. Tom, thank you so much for your work in the desert. Gear preparation. This is not a sport where you can roll into any of the traditional sporting goods stores, Dick's Sporting Goods or whatever, and pick up lacrosse officiating gear. So make sure to be allowing yourself time to get stuff mailed to you. If you haven't done so already and you're a rookie, you're probably already on the clock. Please reach out to Don Huber or I, so we can provide you some substitute gear until yours come in. Very straightforward. I wish I would have had this training when I was a rookie. Go buy yourself a black pair of golf shorts. Under Armour makes great ones, Nike, the like. Don't buy cheap or you will get cheap products. Nice pair of black shoes that are comfortable, black socks, black belt, stripes, and Don, I trust you've gotten all the patches out to the guys, the legal patches that we all need to have, and then a black striped hat. There's a number of websites that you can look for gear on our website at OLOA, the OLA website with some links to some gear manufacturers. Finally, there's a pretty major issue brewing up in Southwest Washington that our OHSLA board took on last week, last Wednesday night. Unanimous decision. There's been some consolidation, inappropriate and around the league itself in Washington, where 3 teams in the Southwest Washington area have tried to come together and form one team and line up games. That is in direct conflict with the Washington lacrosse, high school lacrosse group. And the board of directors at the OHSLA unanimously voted on Wednesday night that we will not provide them games with Oregon teams either. I don't want to take a whole lot of time to belabor this. It's an equity issue. Teams don't have the ability to gather the best players from certain teams and say they're going to have a high school lacrosse season on fair ground. It's not our duty to get involved with that as officials, but I know that we have a number of officials that live in the Southwest Washington area that count on getting game assignments both from Washington and Oregon. So not the best news there. And it's unfortunate, but we will not be supporting, nor will Washington be supporting those teams who have formed, in Washington's opinion, quite illegally and around the intents of a solidified single point league. So that's where we sit on that, guys. I know it's especially for Cuda, Weir, Craig Lyons. I'm sure I'm forgetting some who live up in Washington. It does take a little chunk out of your game schedule, but I think our board here in Oregon took exactly the right stance. We wouldn't want Washington allowing Oregon teams to do this and pull teams up to compete in games. So why would we do the same down here? With that, gentlemen, we're wrapped. Thank you all. It's getting close. I can't wait to see you all on the field soon. Look forward to seeing you all next Sunday night, where we will come together and wrap up the final training session and be heading out onto the field. Tests are due by when, Russell? Are they tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to get the tests in by tonight, because that way I can get them all entered in tomorrow. There's still a few people who haven't got tests. Still a few people who haven't submitted their independent contractor form. So
Okay.
what I'll do is I'll put together a list, send it out to the member at larges and the vice chairmen to let them do the hounding.
And Russell, hang on the line when
Yeah.
we end here tonight for me, because I got a couple items to go over with you. With that, gentlemen, if you're one of those very few who have not gotten those 2 pieces of information in, the second we've got schedules up and running, Don, myself, and Tom Johnson are going to start scheduling. And if your information is not in, I believe, Russell, we said the earliest they'd be scheduled is April 25th, correct?
Yes.
Okay, let's not have that be an issue. Gentlemen, thanks a lot. Have a great Easter. And with that, we are a wrap.
Thanks, Tom. Go Zags.
Bye.